Hello from opencrank.com. We are very enthusiastic collectors and custodians of vintage engines. Today we're going to attempt to start this Blackstone 9 horsepower hot bowl vaporising oil engine and hopefully identify parts for those of you who have not seen an engine like this before. Blackstones built their engines in Stamford in Lincolnshire. The first engine was made in 1895 and the firm ceased trading in 1992. The company was a main pioneer in engine production and concentrated on oil-fueled engines to supply the rural local community and the emerging colonies of Australia and New Zealand and other parts of the world. Large numbers of engines were shipped to Australia to the extent that a firm called Clutterbuck were given a licence to build them over in Australia. The only difference that I have seen between the two engines is the bosses that are cast into the spokes of the flywheels. The Blackstone has it and the Clutterbucks don't. This particular engine was built in 1917. It weighs 1¼ tons, has a bore of 6½ inches and a flywheel diameter of 42 inches. The noise you can hear is the blow lamp heating the vaporiser in readiness to start the engine. We're using a modern gas lamp, but in front of it you can see the original gas burner that was supplied with the engine. This heating normally takes a few minutes to reach temperature, so we will run through a few things of interest. The main power part of the engine is the piston. It is attached to this long rod called the conrod, and which is in turn connected to the big end and the crank and then to the flywheels. This connection allows the backward-forward motion of the piston to create rotary motion of the flywheels. This allows the person running the engine to link it to a belt to either drive a generator, a water pump or a thrashing machine. In simple terms, in relation to your car, it's the engine, the gearbox and then it drives the wheels of your car. As with all machines, all moving parts must be oiled and kept clean to enable the engine to perform correctly. Most engines are of open crank layout, which means the observer can see the piston, conrod and crank moving as the engine works. This particular engine is a full base engine and the tank down here also acts as a fuel tank and allows clearance for the flywheels to rotate. The long shaft position here links the valves to the crank. The valves need to open and close at specific times to ignite the fuel. The valves allow fuel and air to enter the combustion chamber in the correct volumes and at the correct times to enable the engine to run. The side shaft operates the air valve up here, the fuel pump down here, the exhaust valve, the governor and the fuel valve on the vaporiser. The fuel pump has a plunger in it that works similar to a syringe. It sucks fuel from the tank down here, through this pipe, into the pump, pumping a lot of the fuel along this other brass pipe that's connected up into the carburettor here. The carburettor basically has a tiny hole through it through which the engine can suck fuel. Any excess fuel can be returned to the pump by a third pipe. The large cast item on the front of the engine is the vaporizer. It is at present covered by the shroud, and this helps to keep the vaporizer hot while the engine is running and while the gas torch is heating it up. Once the fuel is in the vaporizer, it becomes explosive and gives power to push the piston backwards and forwards and enables the engine to run. I think the vaporizer is now sufficiently hot enough to attempt to start this engine. The starting procedure is as follows. First of all, we switch on the oil to lubricate the engine. We put on the choke. We engage the half compression cap. We then pump fuel up into the carburettor. Once it's reached its level, we can attempt to start the engine. Once the engine is firing, we can disengage the choke, turn off the vaporizer, and put the engine onto full compression. We will now stop the engine and allow it to come to a rest. for watching our video at opencrank.com, and please stay tuned in the future months to see different styles of engines being started and explained to you.